This week we're talking about the film Sorcerer.
Dog shit.
Eric, behave yourself.
Four men condemned by their past, robbed of their future, trapped in a life that was also a death. Four men take an incredible chance, face an impossible challenge, and risk the only thing they have left to lose.
Sorcerer was director William Friedkin's very ambitious and expensive follow-up to The Exorcist. This film bombed at the box office and ended up being a financial disaster for not only one, but two Hollywood studios, because during the production of Sorcerer, the budget grew to the point where two studios had to join together to finance this movie. It ended up being a joint release between Paramount and Universal. It cost $22 million. And just to give you a little perspective on that, Star Wars cost $11 million. So this movie cost twice as much as Star Wars, twice as much as The Exorcist, and it bombed gloriously. It's an interesting film to talk about because it feels like at the time that Sorcerer came out, the culture in Hollywood and in general in America was moving away from films as adult entertainment towards more like movies as very general popcorn movies that had to be for a wide audience. Star Wars, Indiana Jones. What cinema became in the 80s was not really the way it was going in the 70s. And Sorcerer, I think, is kind of a victim of that.
When look at the acting in Star Wars and look at the acting in this movie. It's like they're from two different decades.
The only thing that's similar about Star Wars and Sorcerer is that they're both movies from 1977. They are so profoundly different in the way that they're made and the way that they're marketed and just everything about them. You know? And to me, I'm much more of a Sorcerer than a Star Wars guy. So this one I definitely recommend. 4 out of 5 stars. It's very unique as far as 1970s thrillers go. The filmmaking is subtle to the point where it can feel like a documentary at times. It's an ensemble cast of like anti-heroic characters. The film is grimy, it's dark, it has grit. It feels pretty authentic. And when you watch it, you do get a sense of where the budget went on this movie because the explosions and car flips is actually pretty incredible. And the combination of the documentary style shooting, the authentic locations, plus the very violent special effects makes Sorcerer very unique and interesting. Another thing that really adds to the realism is most of the main cast isn't recognizable. I recognize Roy Schneider, but the rest of the guys, they just seem like people. And they're very unattractive, so it makes them even seem more like real people. Without giving any spoilers, I'll just say it's not an action thriller in the traditional sense. It has explosions and violence, but it's not Michael Bay cartoony action. It's the complete opposite. This movie is like subtle and thoughtful. It's more of a serious drama as opposed to the more goofy, like popcorny thrillers of the 80s and 90s. I couldn't find Sorcerer streaming anywhere. There is a Blu-ray, but no 4K release yet. This is one that I'd really like to see on the big screen and released on 4K because it is beautifully shot on location.
Before drones, those were like the shots for the air.
Before drones, you had to use a helicopter, which has its whole addition of difficulties because a helicopter makes everything on the ground move and it's expensive and there's a whole lot going on with that.
I just think like the reason why I didn't like it was because it's just the look of it wasn't up to date for me. It dragged on, like the pacing was like, oh my god, you know, just you know, this is not a spoiler, but you know when they were checking the crates for the dynamite, and the guy was like slowly reaching his hand in, like he's reaching his hand in the girl. Like I was just like, God damn it, man, hurry the fuck up.
That's part of the whole point is that it's so unstable and you know there's all the suspense of is it going to explode? The original title to Sorcerer was Dynamite.
That would have been better.
Makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Sorcerer opens with 4 vignettes that introduce the film's main characters, and they're all seedy individuals involved in nefarious activity, including terrorism. One of the opening scenes is in Jerusalem, and there's these guys who bomb, you know, they drop this bomb in public and kind of run away. There's an assassination. The character Nilo assassinates someone. And then there's the character Victor in Paris who's involved in like white collar crime. He's like some sort of fraud or something.
Rich people crimes.
Yeah. And then the final guy, who's kind of the main protagonist, the Roy Schneider character, is Jackie, and he's like a Chicago mobster.
Yeah.
They're like robbing a poker game or something, and they accidentally shoot a priest who's like connected to the mob. So now this guy has to flee. All these characters end up in the next part of the film living in Porvenir, which I guess is in Colombia.
Or made up.
Might be a made-up village. I don't know.
Somewhere.
Sure. This is somewhere in South America. And the economy of this little village revolves around an oil well and an oil company that is a very Nazi-looking emblem. And also, I guess one of the guys higher up in the oil company is like, they allude to him being like an escaped Nazi. But then that never really goes anywhere. Anyways, these expat fugitives are now stuck in Porvenir, working in terrible conditions on these oil wells, and they are in such desperate poverty that they can't afford to emigrate, so they're basically like stuck there. And then one day, the oil well explodes and shuts down the whole economy of Porvenir.
Helicopter shots.
Yeah.
Just like.
But the portrayal of like working on an oil well is pretty.
Very good.
It's pretty good and pretty stark and like pretty dark.
I would not be surprised, just like the turtle in Holocaust, whatever, Cannibal Holocaust was real. If these were real, like oil well workers.
This movie looks way more real than Cannibal Holocaust. The oil well explodes and that cripples the whole town. And the oil company, they need dynamite. For whatever reason, I guess you got to blow up a well. I don't really understand why dynamite fixes a exploded oil well, but they need dynamite. They need to get this dynamite 200 miles, and the dynamite has been stored improperly. Therefore, it's sweating nitroglycerin, which makes it extremely unstable and difficult to transport. And here's where the main protagonists come in, because the oil company offers a shit ton of money for drivers who are willing to drive
20,000 pesos.
I think it's 8,000.
Oh,
each,
8,000.
right? So it ends up being like 30,000 altogether, which I guess is a lot because they're making. They need 1,000 pesos to get out of the country, right?
Yeah.
So that'll take care of the problem. And then Nilo shows up and he kills the fourth driver. So they force him to be the fourth driver, which this confused me a little bit because I wasn't sure. Like,
we need another driver.
But did Nilo go all the way there just to assassinate that guy? I guess so. I don't know. It's a little bit confusing. Despite the death of the fourth driver, Nilo replaces him, and the four men, with all their internal conflicts, must now make the perilous journey for the 8,000 pesos each. So the first real difficulty that they come upon is crossing a rotten rope bridge in the rain, which is an incredible sequence. Just the truck on the rope bridge is fucking mind-boggling. Watching that thing sway back and forth. I'm sure this was very difficult to shoot on location and probably cost a shit ton of money.
I think the director was probably having the time of his life.
William Friedkin?
Yeah, he's probably having the time of his life. The studio's giving him near $22 million to make a movie in the 70s, 80s, you want to call it?
77.
Yeah, he's probably having the time of his life. And also frustrated, because she's shooting out in the fucking jungle.
He's a difficult guy to deal with. I went to his house one time to shoot an interview with him, and he was...
even then, he was difficult?
Even then, when he wasn't directing, he was very difficult. And, he wanted us to put towels under all the light stands because he didn't want us to, hurt his floor. And he was,
you guys didn't have tennis balls?
We didn't have tennis balls, no. This is a low-budget production. His house is, very boomery. It's, everything's gold and, very intricate and lots of decorations,
Oh,
he's like a mansion in Bel Air. It was you had to go through a gate to get into the neighborhood.
Oh, he got it when it was cheap then.
Probably. I mean, he's dead now. He passed away this past year.
Oh, sorry. That sucks.
Yeah. But it was interesting going to his house and meeting him.
What was the last thing that he shot?
He made a film called the Kane Mutiny Court Martial. It's a remake of a play. It's a thing that's been around for a while, and it was pretty solid. I thought for his final film, for the one that he kind of went out with, it was relatively solid for William Friedkin. And I was kind of like, oh, good for you. Your last film was pretty good.
Okay.
It's Kiefer Sutherland, isn't it?
The guy from 24?
Yep.
Oh, so that was pretty new then.
It was this year. He died this year. Last year, 2024.
That movie is pretty new then.
It's 2024.
Oh, that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really new. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised Kiefer Sutherland...
Keep up with me, Eric. You look silly with that fucking thing on your head.
I thought we weren't going to mention
that. Is that why you can't hear? The oil company is assuming that one of these trucks isn't going to make it. Because So they're sending 2 trucks as an insurance policy. One guy blows up. Hopefully the other truck gets there.
So let me get this straight. These dumbasses at the oil company have access to vehicles that could fly.
Helicopter was out of the question for whatever reason because the dynamite is so unstable.
Okay.
And yeah, you're right. No, the trucks probably would explode. And they do. One of the trucks gets a flat and fucking goes downhill and explodes gloriously. It's fucking great.
I just think that if it wasn't for such the horrible acting and the pacing
who's acting in this is horrible.
Everybody's.
Really?
Everybody's. And the pacing of this movie, that's probably, maybe I'm part of this 21st century where I just need like, go.
Your attention span has been
maybe that could be the problem.
Shortened. I have a real problem with the statement that the acting in this movie is bad, though. I disagree profoundly. Not only is the acting great, there's a lot of people in this movie that seem like they're extras on location that really adds a lot of realism too. Like that old fucking lady in the bar that Jackie dances with at the end. She doesn't look like an actress. She looks like she's from Porvenir.
Really, really from there.
You know, it's based off of a book. It's based off of a fucking a French novel. And also, I think there was another adaptation of this movie previously. I think this is the second time somebody tried to adapt it. To me, it really reminds me of like the 70s, making movies the auteur way and making them for adults and basing them off of novels.
Yeah, the last novel I like physically read, this is kind of embarrassing, but was Harry Potter.
When was this? Was this when you were 11 or was this like 2 weeks ago?
Okay, I love you. 愛上了你，請你莫逃避，維護你，原諒你，拋開貪生怕死，一切為咗你。